Welcome to part 2 of Competency 2. In this video, we will work with the different forms of complex numbers using the TI-84. Number 1, what is the polar form of the complex number z equals -2 plus 4i? Okay, the form that they're talking about is r cosine, and then you'll have theta, then plus I sine theta. Now, generally, there would be a little diagram, and we go through the motions of formulating this form. However, I am depending on you as a person studying for the test to go investigate that. Okay, if you have a study guide, that'd be great. But for our purposes, I'm going to show you how to get that on the TI-84 very quickly. Okay, so this is what we want to do. We want to go math, arrow over to complex. First, we want ABS for absolute value. So we're going to put all of that in the absolute value. So we want number 5. So we go 5 in our, oops, sorry. Sorry about that. Let me go back up and capture it. We don't want to enter. Okay, you just want to do number 5. Sorry. Now we want to enter our information. So we have -2 plus 4. Now to get I, we go second and the decimal point. Okay, now we can push enter. Okay, that is the value that we get. Now, be logical here. First off, I am going to say that I bet it equals 2 square roots of 5. So let's put that in the calculator and let's verify that. Okay, because it does look very familiar to me. All right, so we go 2, second, and then x squared for your square root, put in a 5, enter, and there you go. Same number. So we have just eliminated C and D. Now, that gets us R. That's what R is. R is the magnitude of this vector that's created by our complex numbers. Okay, so now we use math, arrow over to complex. Now we used 5 last time. Now we need the angle. That's number 4. So now we put in our given in here, and we'll get the angle. -2 plus 4, and then second, the decimal. See that little blue eye up there? And I like to close my parentheses. You don't have to, but I do. And then push enter. Now, you will need to round up to the nearest degree. Now, that's another thing. Okay. Before we move on, I do want to point out, and I forgot to say it, guys, you got to have this calculator in degrees, okay? You want to be in degrees, and it's best to be in complex form. Depends on which family of the calculator you're using, but degrees got to happen. Okay, so let's go second mode. Now we're back at our angle, and now we know we need to round to 117. Okay, let's see here. We have 2 options. However, B isn't going to work because this is not the proper form. That's one thing, you have to know the form, okay? You can make a mistake if you don't understand the form that it needs to be in, okay? There's a lot more to how we get to the form, and there's a lot more to this, but this is all they're asking. Okay, so A is the option that we need. Okay, so let's apply that to the second one, except they want the polar coordinates. Well, to get the polar coordinates, we just have to do the same step we did and just find the things we need. Now, for polar coordinates, that is R and theta, and that's it. Now, I'm going to look at my options, and I can tell you right now that this is not going to work, and this is not going to work because I is not in your coordinates, and our degree was 117. So C can't work. So it has to be A. Okay. So all you needed was your R and your theta. All right. So now let's go to the next one. Okay. All right. What is the polar form and the polar coordinates of the complex number z equals square root of 3 minus 3i? Okay. We just go through the same motions. It does make sense, however, to double check that if anything's out of the correct format. It looks like everything's in the right format. Okay, so let's say math, arrow over, all the way to complex. I'm going to do number 5 first. So now we need to input second square root 3. Now you're going to have to arrow all the way over to get out of your square root. Now minus 3 second I. Okay, push enter. And again, it gives us a value that probably should be in the square root. So look at our options. Well, it can't be the square root of 3 because it's a little larger than 3. So I'm thinking it's 2 square roots of 3. So 2 second square root, put a 3 under it, and we are correct. So that eliminates C and D. Okay, now let's go get the angle. So math, arrow over all the way. And remember, it's number 4, the angle. Okay, let's put that in again. Okay, so let's say second and square root. Yeah, there we go. 3 and minus 3 second I. I like to close my parentheses, and there we go. Now, here's the thing. When it says minus 60, this means you need to subtract it from 360. Okay, so 360 plus, and I'm going to go up and grab it. It already has a negative on it. Pull it down, push enter. We need 300, which of course we already knew that just by saying 360 minus 60. But anyway, that gives us A because 60 would not be correct. All right, number 4. Oh, wait a second. Before I move on, obviously the coordinates matched here. See? So that was correct format. We'd already checked that before we began, but I thought I'd mention it. Now let's go to number 4. Okay. What is the polar form of the complex number z equals -1 minus 2.5i? Okay. Well, let's take a look at it. Let's do the angle first. That'd be good. It doesn't matter which one you do first, obviously. So math, arrow over, complex number 4, and it is -1 minus 2.5 second I. Close, double check entry, push enter. Okay, so obviously I have to subtract that from 360. So 360 plus, I go up and then bring it down and enter again. 240, and it'll 248, round to 8. So let's see, anything that's any different, we can eliminate those. Okay. Now, before we do anything, double check formatting. Okay, B is correct. And E, oh, we have a formatting mistake right here. So that is probably wrong. And B, I would say is our entry. But we need to check it. Take us but a minute to check, even less than a minute. So we go math, arrow over twice. We need number 5. Okay, now we put in -1 minus 2.5 second I and push enter. Okay, here's the thing. Our value is under the square root in our option, but yet we don't have it under the square root. I bet if we square our answer, if we just push square and push enter, oh, look at there, 725. So it's the square root of 725. So we are correct. That is our option. They just wrote it in a different form. They could have said 2.7 quite easily, but they chose not to. All right, let's go to number 5. What is the rectangular form of the complex number whose polar form is given as z equals 5, then cosine 200 plus I sine 200? Okay, I really love this because all we have to do is enter it into our calculator, push our enter button, and it automatically will give it to us. Of course, we may have to round, seeing that our options are decimals. But let's go take a look and see, okay? All right. So 5 parentheses. You have to use the parentheses. Don't forget them. Cosine 200, close those parentheses, okay? Plus, we need the second I. And it's best to put the I before it. I mean, you can put it after, but in a minute, I'll show you what happens, okay? Well, I put it after, but it doesn't matter if you put it before or after the sign because your calculator is going to do this for you. Okay, I'm going to push my parentheses again, double check my entry. Notice that the calculator forces us to put parentheses around our angles, okay? Now push enter, and there we go. It is saying that we need negative 4.7. See, it's rounded. So anything that doesn't start with that, negative 4.7, doesn't start with that, and this is positive, not negative. Now let's keep reading. Now we want a negative 1.71. That's what we have on option C. And the I, notice the I, it just popped right behind it. Like the calculator just knew what to do. All right. So we have verified that. Okay, now let's go to the next one. Number 6, what is the rectangular form of the complex number whose form is given as z equals square root of 10 cosine 35 plus I sine 35? Okay, again, we just put it in the calculator. So second square root 10, and you have to arrow over and put in your parentheses. Cosine, and we need 35, close it, and say plus second I, then sine 35, and close your parentheses. Okay, now let's push enter. Okay. All right, and we need a positive, it looks like we can round to 2.59. Let's see who gives it. Okay. Looks like this is the only proper starting value. But let's keep double checking. Plus 1.81. Yes, that is verified. Okay, now I do have to say something quickly about this particular question. Again, if there is a study book that you've been using, which I use, if you're using the same one that I'm using, okay, I do pull some questions from it. You may have noticed that particular question, their answer is wrong. Okay. Now, if you would like, go input this question into, you can just put it into the internet. It'll give you an answer. Obviously, our TI 84 will disagree with the answer that they did get. And also, Wolfram Alpha, that's a great place. If you enter it, you can get the answer for free. Go down and look. You'll see this long, drawn out, crazy decimal form. They don't do all that rounding. I mean, they put in more decimal places than our little TI-84 could ever dream of. I mean, it's crazy. But when you round, they're in agreement with our calculator. Okay. All right. Let's look at number 7. You got 7 and 8. What is the polar form of the number z equals 0 plus 12i? Okay. All right, let's think about this. If we want to get our R and we put that in the absolute value, I'm going to tell you right now it's going to pop out 12. But let's go ahead and do it and let's see what happens. Okay, math, arrow over, and let's do the number 5, the absolute value. So let's do 12, second, I, enter. It's 12. That's why all of these are the same. Every one of these is the same. Okay, we can't get anywhere with that. Let's check our angle. So math, arrow over, and we're going to do number 4. And you don't have to type in the 0, obviously. So 12 second I, and close parentheses, enter 90 degrees. Okay, so anything with 90, here, let me get rid of this. Okay, anything with 90 degrees stays, and anything not 90 degrees goes. So this goes, this goes. All right, now we have it between these two items. Look carefully. Who's got the wrong form? C's form is correct. This is incorrect. Now, having the negative isn't necessary. It is, what's wrong is the I cosine. That's not going to work. Okay. If we rewrote this, it would be absolutely in the wrong form. It's negative I cosine. So what I'm saying is, if I pop minus instead of a plus, and I put C into the calculator with the minus, it's going to pop back this. All right, well, let's check it. Let's just see what happens. Okay, 12. And it's one way to check to see if you selected the right answer. Let's see what happens. So say cosine 90 and close. Now, I'm going to put in a minus and let's see what happens. All right, minus second I, okay? Then a sine, sine and 90, close, close, double check my entry and enter. Okay, oh, it does come back different. Okay, so let's go up, and that, because of, even if this was sine right here, A would still be wrong. So let's go back and capture this, and let's put in what C has, what we've actually chosen. Okay, push enter, and it comes back. Of course, the 0 isn't there. The calculator is not going to give you 0 when you don't need 0, unless there's some particular reason that it's programmed that way. Okay, number 8. What is a polar form of the number z equals negative 5 plus 0i? Okay, well, if I put minus 5 in an absolute value, I'm going to get 5. This knocks out C and D. But let's go and go through the rigmarole. Okay, let's go through the process. Math, arrow over. I want to check number 5, okay? Then I put minus 5 in and push enter. Of course it's 5. Okay, now let's check the form. Okay, well, again, this is incorrect. But I'm curious about the 180. So let's say math. Let's go over and choose our number 4. And we're going to put the minus 5, close our parentheses. It's 180. That's why they all said 180, which is very different from our other selections, if you know, our other questions. Okay, so obviously B has to be it. Okay. Now, I do want to do something a little curious. I want to put a negative right here because that's why I'm saying sometimes when you have a negative where that positive is, it still comes out back to where you started. It goes back to your given. So let's see what happens. Because when we tried it, it didn't happen for prior. For number 7, we did it. Remember, we did this and it didn't come out that way. So let's see what's going to happen with this one. So 5 parentheses cosine 180 degrees, close parentheses. I'm going to say minus second I, then sine 180, close again. Now it's written exactly the way we see it. All right, let's push enter. Ah, yes. And this time it did come back with a minus 5 plus 0i, exactly where it was given. So be wary of answer choices. Look at them carefully. We do have a plus, but a minus would have given us the same thing. And this may explain why our A option, in order to be incorrect, they have this form here. Just a good way of analyzing your question. Okay, that being said, this is the last question for this video. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, sharing us, and liking all our videos. If you've liked us, that is, thank you so much. Consider all of those. Okay, happy testing, guys.